Wash day and welcome to my story vlog where I'm telling my truth and sharing my story. And today's episode is about me as a child. And I think it's really important that I share that part of my story because I think it's not really easily identified when you first get to know me. And so to help you guys out, to kind of learn a little bit more of my truth and where I come from, I think it's really important that I share with you what my life was like as a child. I was born and raised in Winnipeg. My father's from Kingston, Jamaica. He moved to Canada in 1975. My mother is from Saskatchewan. She's Nakota Assiniboine. And my parents met in Regina, actually. My dad was a DJ at the time. And, you know, my mom came over to my dad to request a song, and she spilt her wine all over his records. And that's how they met. As a result of that, you know, I have a younger sister as well. My sister is 3 years younger than me. And not only is she my sister, but she's also my best friend. And, you know, my relationship with my sister when we were young is I was always overprotective of my sister. And as we became adults, my sister, you know, really quickly became my best friend at the same time. So I'm really grateful that I have a close relationship with my sister. On my dad's side, I have an older brother, and my older brother has influenced me musically. You know, he was a DJ, and one of my earliest memories is there was a time where he snuck me into the club, and I'd be underneath the DJ table passing him the records. And so my brother, you know, earlier on as a child influenced me musically. Another memory I have is of my brother and my dad. I remember one time they were both downstairs in the basement, and they were just playing music, and I snuck to the top of the stairs. I was supposed to be in bed sleeping, and you know, they heard me kind of sneak downstairs, and they were just like sharing knowledge about reggae and music because my dad, you know, has a lot of records from back in the day, and my brother was a DJ. And so I just remember as a child, you know, musically, it came from my dad and my brother. And I do remember being in the basement one time. There was always this picture, this painting of a leopard. And I was always like, whose painting is this? What is this painting? And so I remember one day like coming upstairs and asking, you know, my family, like, what is this painting? Whose is it? And my mom was like, it's my painting. I made it. And so I was always inspired that my parents were both very artistic. And so as a child, you know, I was very much influenced by, you know, both my dad musically and my mom artistically. And, you know, my parents meeting in Regina, you know, I have early memories of a child always going to and from the reservation, Ocean Man First Nation in Saskatchewan. And I have memories as a child, you know, hanging out on the powwow grounds with my cousins. As a child, you know, I would always be around the powwow grounds. I was raised with the understanding of me having 3 grandmothers because they're all sisters. I was just raised that they're all my grandmother. And my grandmother Laura, she was actually the first chief of Ocean Man because we had to fight for our land back. But Ocean Man was also the first all-female chief and council in Canada. And so, you know, I'm very proud of that part of me, of my life, of my family. And I find it very interesting. Like when you get to know me, this is part of my life that you may not really know from the get-go. And so as a child, you know, going to and from the res, you know, growing up with 3 grandmothers was always a little different. And I was surrounded by my cousins and sitting on the powwow grounds and hanging out and just getting into all sorts of trouble. And so as a child, you know, I think it's just a really interesting history that I have with my relatives. And I was always surrounded by family and friends. You know, that was just common in the household. And in the basement of my house in Winnipeg, there was a drum set, and you know, I was always hanging out on the drum set, just banging around, doing nothing really. But music and instruments and art was always something that kind of influenced me as a child. And my brother was always, you know, somebody who had that cool factor for me. And, you know, he taught me what cool was really. And so my dad being in a band, you know, as a child, I have early memories of like walking into the garage when they're all rehearsing and just listening to that reggae music. as a child, that's just what my environment was like. And so I thought that it was just really important for me to kind of share, what my life was like as a child. And I hope you enjoyed it. This is vlog number 2, and this is just my story and my truth. And I think it's really important that I use this opportunity we have in this day in life to be able to tell my story, so that the people who are my fans, the people who are my supporters, the people who are in my circle, they know my truth and they know who I am and what I'm about. So wash day, do what you love, and love what you do.